everyone. Today is Wavelink 101, and we're going to cover the two topics of unassigned devices and dynamic folders. We will be using a live Avalanche instance, so I will log in here. And as you can see, I have a few devices connected, and two of them are in a zebra folder, and one is in the unassigned folder. What we're going to talk about is what are unassigned devices and unassigned folder, and what is its purpose, the best practice, connecting devices that are brand new to the system so that they do not move into the unassigned folder. Then what happens when a device is moved into the unassigned folder, and how do you get it out of there? Then we'll talk about what is a dynamic folder assignment. The devices, once they're placed into a folder, by default, for example, they're static. How do you change them to become dynamic? And then I'll tie this all together in a shipping and receiving scenario, a real-world scenario. All right? So what is an unassigned device? It's a device that's placed in a folder that is called unassigned device because it did not meet any of the selection criteria on any of the folders. And when a device is placed into this unassigned device folder, right here, it will not receive any profiles, and it will not consume any license. And the reason why we created this folder is if you're migrating from a version previous to 6.1, a device could be in multiple folders. And with 6.1, we have multi-tenancy. So a device would be assigned to a specific folder. And we needed to make sure that only the software profiles and network profiles that you intended for that device to receive, it would get. And if there wasn't any selection criteria, it was open to receiving software that it shouldn't, or network profiles that it shouldn't. So we put the safeguard in here, and we moved it to this unassigned device folder. Let's step back a bit, and what would be the best way to connect devices to Avalanche as they came in, as you receive more devices? And I have just a few steps. It's very easy. I'll show you. We create a folder, and we add selection criteria. And the devices, as they come in to Avalanche, they will assess the folders, and as soon as it meets a folder that it meets the selection criteria to, it will then move to that folder. And when it moves to that folder, then it will receive any profiles that you have assigned to that folder, and it also will receive a license. So let's do it. The way Avalanche is laid out is you start on the left and you move to the right. What do I want to do? First step is to make a folder. So I select inventory, and I will select the top because I want it to be a parent level folder. Up at the top part, you'll see a folder icon, and I select that. Typically, you want to give your folders a logical name so that you know what devices are connected to there, or what they're being used for, a business unit, a DC, or a model name, or a manufacturer name. So I'm going to create a data log logic folder because I only want data logic devices to be in there. It's just a logical name for me. And then I'm going to give it a selection criteria. And we have a list of canned selection criteria. There's also multiple selection criteria that you can use depending on the device and manufacturer or any custom ones that you created. But I'm going to use model name. So I'm selecting a property of model name, and I'm going to say if it's equal to DLG, and then I'm going to give it a wildcard. I know from experience that a model name of DLG is in front of all data logic devices. And with a wildcard, it doesn't matter if it's an ELF or Scorpio or Falcon or any of those things. It will automatically be added to my data logic folder. And that's what I want. So I'm going to select Save. Now that I've created this, I need to make it active. So I'm going to deploy it. And I'm going to deploy that now. So as that is being deployed, I will select the inventory here and go to my enterprise, and I'll turn on some devices. So as these devices are turning on, they will connect, and you will see that they will show the assigned folder. They won't go to the unassigned devices because I have this folder that has selection criteria of data logic. If I go to Zebra, let's select the folder and then view the folder settings. And in here, you'll see that I have a selection criteria of model name is equal to symbol 4090, and that's why the 4090 is connected. You'll also see that I have an enrollment of WL train, and it says the enrollment folder is Zebra, and that's why the MC40 is in the Zebra folder. But if I change this SYM to a static instead of 4090, not static, I mean wildcard, then the 9090 would show up here. But right now I'm specific, so I will have only the 4090 and the MC40 and not the 9090. All right, so let's see here. I'll go back to the PowerPoint here. So I created a folder. I added selection criteria to the folder, and then the devices will connect statically once they power up. And what do I mean by a static assignment is that as the device, there we go, that turned on, a device that is applied to a folder. So I have this data logic folder, and when this Scorpio connects, it will be assigned to data logic. But if I were to go in here and change the selection criteria to ELF, it would not leave the data logic folder because it already met the selection criteria once before, and any new devices that connect will have to meet that selection criteria. So data logic is equal to ELF, then only new devices that are ELFs will connect and not any Scorpio devices. And I can move the folders up so I can change where they are located. So instead of down the bottom, they're up at the top. And what happens when you have a device that goes to unassigned? Well, it's the same process. You create a folder or use an existing folder, and you add selection criteria to that folder. And once you have that selection criteria applied to the folder, then you can move the unassigned device to that folder by two ways. You can select all the devices that are in unassigned, and then you would say apply criteria to selected devices. Or you could, and that's the ones that you check, this one and this one, but not that one. And this one is just to all the devices that are in unassigned. And it would take this device or devices, and what it does is goes to the top and it says, do I meet selection criteria? Do I? Do I? Do I? And right now, it will not meet any of the selection criteria of any of the folders. And how could I move a device out of here if I just wanted to put it into Zebra, even though there wasn't selection criteria? Remember, the 4090 is the selection criteria. I can reassign the device to that folder, even though it doesn't meet the selection criteria, because by default, these are static folders. All right? So if I select the Zebra folder, you will now see that it is in the Zebra folder, but it's not permanent. It is the design is, this is what I'm going to do. Do you want me to do it? And if the answer is yes, then I select deploy. So if I created some selection criteria for these folders, and instead of assigning the device, but I said apply the selection criteria to these devices, the devices would then be placed where they would meet the selection criteria. And if it did not meet go to the proper place that you expected, then you just don't deploy it and then go back, fix the selection criteria, and try it again until it shows up where the devices in all the folders that you expect them to be. And then, you're good to go. So it looks like this device finally checked in. Data logic, I don't know why it took so long, but it finally went on its own. And it moved to the data logic folder automatically. And I have an ELF, but I'm not going to waste trying to get it connected right now. It really has nothing, So you get the point, is that because I have this folder with selection criteria that it met of DLG, remember, it automatically was placed into the data logic folder. So that's the best practice, is create a folder, give it some selection criteria that would meet your devices, and connect them to the network, and they will automatically show up to that folder. And restating again, if a device is moved to unassigned devices and you do not want them to be there, then you would do the same thing. You would take a folder, add selection criteria, but you would either reapply it to the system or manually move it. And this I manually moved to show you that these are static. Even though it doesn't meet the selection criteria, it can be in a folder if you manually move it. But what happens if I want a device, a folder to be dynamic? So dynamic folders is a dynamic folder assignment. And where you go enable this feature is in the mobile device server profile. I go to the top level, My Enterprise. I have the profile of mobile device server. I select that, and I edit it. You can see it said static by default. So the device folder assignment is static by default. If I select dynamic and select save, now I've made a change to how the servers function, and it's not active until I deploy this change. So if I made the changes and I wasn't aware of this device not meeting the selection criteria, there could be a problem because all the devices in there would then automatically move out, because remember, the selection criteria is for the 4090 and not a generic statement of all Motorola devices. So once this profile is applied, and for the mobile server profile of a dynamic folders, then this device will automatically leave here and it will go right back to the unassigned devices. So because it was static previously, the device was allowed to be here because I manually moved it. But when I turned on dynamic, the selection criteria wasn't met, so it dynamically kicked the device out of the Zebra folder. Now, why would I want something like this? It leads up to the scenario. What this all builds up to is I have shipping and receiving, and I want to be able to scan a barcode and have the device connect to shipping, or scan a receiving barcode and have it connect to receiving, or have it go back and forth. Let's say you have 10 devices, and 5 are for shipping and 5 are for receiving, and you need to do cycle count on the weekend. And so what they'll do is they'll say to the other department, can we use 3 of your guys for overtime? And the 3 guys will come over to do cycle count, and they'll scan the barcode for that department, and it will uninstall the software that they previously had on their device and install the software for them to be able to do cycle counting and then work overtime. And then when they're done and they are end of the shift, they would go back to their department, scan the barcode, it would uninstall the software that they use for cycle counting and install the software that they need for their primary job. So let me show you how to do that. It's actually quite easy. I've created a shipping folder and a receiving folder. And in my shipping folder, I created some profiles. And I have 3 profiles to be exact. I have a software profile to tell it what software that should be installed on devices there. And then I have a mobile device profile to tell the device what software should be uninstalled. I also created a profile that's called a scan to configure sheet and put a selection criteria that's unique to that folder, and it's custom. I just made it up. Well, let's take a look at that selection criteria. I select the eyeball to view the folder, and I made up loc is equal to ship, and it is case sensitive, and I just made this up. I just went in here under the wizard and I just typed that in. That's all I needed to do. You can put anything you want in there as long as it meets the, it's a valid statement. And I did the same thing to receiving. But instead of, it uses the same term here, the first one property, but the value is RS instead of ship. So let's go to any one of these folders and take a look at the software that's going to be installed in receiving. And it's going to receive the Velocity CE, and it's configured, but we don't have time to show you that right now. And I also created a mobile device profile, and I specified that if it's in receiving, it shouldn't have Telnet. So if it's ever received Telnet, uninstall it. I've done something similar in shipping, but in shipping, they will receive Telnet, right? And it will uninstall Velocity. You see? Then I created a barcode in these folders, and the shipping one is a scan to configure profile edit. And you scroll down, and all I did is add a property loc is equal to ship. So I print out the barcode, and close this, and let's scan the barcode and look at the inventory on the data log enterprise here. All right, so it's unassigned right now, and I will turn on scan to configure on my 9090, and let's go to shipping. So scan barcode 1, barcode 2, and the device is connecting to 1070. So now you see it's in shipping. Let's take a look at the device and remote control it. All right, and view. Okay, so it's running Telnet now, and I'm going to, so you can visually see it better, I'm going to exit Telnet, and let's make this so you can see both things at once. And remote control here. View. All right. So if I go to my inventory here and scroll over, and you see shipping, now I want to move it to receiving. And remember, receiving has velocity. So I'm going to scan the velocity barcode. So I will turn on scan to configure and scan the barcode. It doesn't matter the order. And you'll see that it's communicating to the server. It's installing velocity. So the initial connection takes some time, but once it's connected and Avalanche has a hold of it, you can see it's pretty quick. And so now velocity is installed, and now it's completing that process, and now it's going to delete Telnet, and the Telnet icon is going to go away, and velocity is going to just pop up. See? So now I'm running velocity. And I go in here and run velocity. So you saw Telnet running before. Now I'm going to, I don't know which one of these work. I'll connect to that one. See if it works, if it's live. That's it. Waiting for it to connect to the internet, so it might be slow. All right. That's all I have.